Should make mention that in that top class, the Platinum class, a couple of other cars are eligible, including the SR8, which you'll see Terry Olsen, P5, in the yellow and white car, car 16. He's a good example of that, as is the car just in front of him. In number 4 position on the racetrack at the moment, John Field. The SR8 features 2 Hayabusa motorcycle engines mated together on a common block. And that's actually an engine design that Radical came up with a few years ago. In fact, the SR8 chassis held the Nürburgring lap record for a number of years. So extremely quick motor racing cars. And there should be a good fight between those top 5 cars and Jim Booth, who's sitting in 8th on the grid. Now, we're just starting our second pace lap. We will look for a green start, a 2x2 formation green start this next time by. Starting 6th on the grid, Steve Jenks was fastest. In fact, he was extremely quick in the Pro 1500 class for Group A racing yesterday. And we mentioned the commotion in turn 1. He was the recipient of a bit of a hip and shoulder from young Noah Ping, who ended up winning the race. He did get a penalty, a reprimand, lost some points as well for that altercation. The race director not deeming it completely Noah's fault, but certainly putting a higher percentage of blame on Noah. But nevertheless, I'm sure Noah shrugged that off. He starts in 11th on the grid today. In front of him, Gustavo Raffles, Palmer Miller, 2 other young guns. Should mention Noah's only got about 3 races under his belt. Unbelievable the performance that he put in yesterday to take his first win, albeit with that small dark cloud hanging over him after that incident. But Alex Morton, another one who impressed in qualifying. He'll start on 7th overall. Look out for car 3 because he's really sort of just got better and better throughout the weekend. Greg Gorski in the Smoke Buddy machine. There's another one to look out for. So Gorski has been a long-time competitor. Jesse Menser, who'll start 13th overall. Then it's Ron Fletcher, both of those guys from Spring Mountain Country Club. Then we head back to Nate Smith, Max Feldler, Nick Pearson, and Vince Switzer. And Vince, the man that was fastest in the Pro 1340 class.
All right, the pace car has the field making it into the back portion at the track before the cars come on to the straightaway here. The pace car are going to take its turn off the track as we can see him. We're going to see if he's got his lights out, which is all good. The cars are lining up 2 by 2.
Looks like a beautiful formation.
Does. And the pace car's off as they make their way towards the start-finish line and the green flag.
Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The Blue Marble Radical Cup, race 3 of the 2021 season is underway. It's green, 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 and already 3, 4 wide now.
Whoa.
Down into turn 1. Hopefully they'll all get through. And a big move right at the end of that.
And we had one straggler towards the end spin.
Yeah, so definitely a lot of dust, but most of the field, a 29-car field on the racetrack. So a huge amount of cars to stream around this beautiful racing circuit. Jim Booth having a go into the center hairpin, as is Palmer Miller, who found himself a little further back than he'd want at the start of this race. Great racing between the 1500 cars. Again, if you're watching, that's the Dayglow red on the rear wings. So reasonably clean in this first. Oh, we've had a spin. So one of the cars is actually a couple of cars into the chicane just before the museum corner. And it was a grey one. Can't quite make out which car that was at the moment.
He's at the beach right now. And hopefully we'll be able to get him out. And we had another car come off just after exiting that turn.
It's always challenging around Barber Motorsports Park. It's a beautiful racetrack to drive, quite tricky to race on though. The opportunities to make a move stick, is difficult, and we have got a full course caution, it would appear. So just while we've got this break, just want to remind everyone that this race does feature a pit stop. So 15 minutes into the race, the pit window will open, and everyone has to make a competition pit stop, which inevitably throws a cat amongst the pigeons. It gives a few people an opportunity to make amends perhaps for a bad start, an opportunity for the crews, the teams to make a difference to their drivers' finishing position.
Well, and that's full course caution, and as we see the pace car coming up out of turn 4 headed down towards Charlotte's Web, that's going to give some of those gentlemen who had a little trouble on the start a chance to get bunched back up.
Yeah, and speaking of the start, John Field made a good one. He's up to third outright, so Louis Schreiber's dropped a position. Louis Schreiber in the 111 for Team Stradale, Shorewood Development Group. It's now running fourth on the racetrack. Gustavo Raffles having a strong start. He's P2 behind Steve Jenks. So Gustavo, the big mover and shaker, on lap 1 before we went full course caution. It's a real shame to get that car beached. The energy that was there in the field was fantastic, and they were having a lot of to and fro. Shame that we just had to get behind the safety car. Now we'll have to watch the timing, because at some point, as we mentioned, the pits will open, and they can pit if we're still under safety car, although I know the emergency crews here at Barber are fantastic at getting things extracted rather quickly.
For those of you who, again, are joining us for the first time, Tom, talk a little bit about the history of the series and give everybody a kind of an update, because it does have a very rich history, and it is a very, comparatively speaking, affordable way to go racing.
Absolutely. Well, Radical sports cars have been around for a long time. British racing car manufacturer based in Peterborough, England, and all the cars hand-built there in what is really Motorsports Valley, if you like, in England. And the cars have been highly popular around the world. In fact, really the Radical Cup is the only prototype series or single make prototype series that exists on multiple continents around the world. So we're definitely a unique thing in the world of motorsport. The great thing is these cars are really, really accessible to people with very little experience. And whilst we've got a lot of karters coming into the series, and I've got a lot of storied drivers, including John Field. Many of you may remember that name from America Le Mans. He's won a couple of championships, won all sorts of big events. Chris McMurray, another one that's been on the podium at the Sebring 12 Hours. So some big names in the series. But for people looking to cut their teeth and get into the sport, the Radical can be used at track days. Of course, we see a lot of those here at Barber, including Chin Motorsports. You can use it in local SCCA and NASA competition as well. We mentioned that it was a really popular car at the country club racetracks like Spring Mountain, Apex, which is having their first competition event with some of their members this weekend, thanks to Crown Concepts, an Apex based out of Arizona. But all the country clubs, whether it's Monticello in New York, Atlanta Motorsport Park just in Georgia, and Autobahn, the list goes on. These cars are really, really popular there because you can get in and feel confident straight away. They're quite inspiring. You might be miles off the pace, but at least you feel confident that you can do the business. And that was Ron Fletcher, number 19, who had that mishap. And there's huge amounts of stones tumbling out the back of that 19 Batmobile, as he likes to call it, going down into turn 1. So there'll be definitely a little bit out to watch for these other drivers now. But yes, you can really start at the track day level, at the club level, and then progress along to club racing, then full national series here, the Blue Marble Radical Cup, and of course star alongside the likes of IndyCar And then if you want, start ticking off the bucket list tracks across the globe, be it Spa, Francorchamps in Belgium, or Silverstone in England, Bathurst in Australia, you name it. Radicals are racing in Asia, the Middle East. So lots of opportunities to really, really tick off the bucket list. And that's what this series is all about, which is why we're at a world-class racetrack like Barber Motorsports Park. So the yellow flags have been rescinded by the flag marshals, which means that we're probably going to go green this time by.
Let's hope so.
No, actually, the safety car's still out on track.
Okay.
So I thought I'd seen the curse of the commentator there, but I thought I'd seen the the flags come in. They haven't yet. The Honda safety car is still out on track, and we'll do one more tour before we go green.
Well, as the rules are pretty much the same in racing all the way around. Once the pace car passes the start-finish line, and if he turns off his lights, that means that we're going to go green next time by, unless something changes, which could have happened. And so we're ready to see them. We're working just under minute number. We're just 29 minutes remaining, but I'm excited to see the pit calls at the 15-minute mark.
It will be interesting to see who sort of comes in early, or who attempts the undercut, if you will, or who just stays out and tries to just hammer in some lap times and hopefully in some clean air and get the advantage that way.
So they don't all have, and I'm just, they don't all have to come in at the same time.
No. So they've got a 10-minute window to do this in.
Gotcha.
And we just watch them stream around the center hairpin here. Beautiful sight. Sunny skies.
You explained yesterday that part of that is that you could actually have a team, 2 drivers, and that you could work out some different team strategies.
That's right. Well. So the nice thing about the series is it is set up for amateurs and semi-professional drivers. The idea is this is a stepping stone series to much bigger things, and we've seen the likes of John Fowl win in the North American Radical Cup Series, progress over to Europe and run in European Le Mans and even at Le Mans. Of course, others as well. George Kurtz won a World Challenge Championship. He's come from the Radical ranks as well. Young Jordan Missig made a step up to SCCA Pro F3 or Formula Regional after spending a few years in the Radical Cup Series. So a really good way to progress up through the ranks of motorsport. And that's why we're starting to see so many young guns.
So where do you all go next after Barber Motorsports Park?
Well, we'll be at back with IndyCar, which is lovely at Road America. And just awesome to watch these things stream around and scream around Road America.
Road America is a great track and another very attractive race venue.
Right. So I was a bit eager last time by. Hopefully we'll get this going again. The green flag is being definitely prepared.
Well, the pace car's gone. He's come off the track.
And green, green, green. And very quickly, Louis Schreiber popping out to the inside and having a big lockup into turn 1. But the rest of the field getting it done. So the single file restart causing a little bit chaos this time. We'll watch to see. There is a yellow flag, mind you. There is a car off at the exit of turn 1. We can just see it on screen at the moment. A car going slow and is parked at the exit there. Meanwhile, a big move into the center hairpin for who would that be? That's got to be Louis Schreiber, I think, on John Field. So the SR10 coming alive straight away after the restart. The SR8's just a little bit docile, perhaps. That turbo power working well in the sunshine here for the EcoBoost 4-cylinder SR10s, and they are now running 1, 2, and 3.
Well, it looks like the driver who went off down in turn 1 has sorted it out because we don't see any caution flags.
And a big kick of smoke there, or dust, and there was someone going slow at the pointy end of the field, I think. So we'll wait and see as they come around. The car's streaming by. You can see the speed. And quite a big battle back in the 1500 field. And for that matter, the 1340s. So it's India Miller still in the lead from Louis Schreiber. So Louis made some big moves. And the good news for Steve Jenks is he's got quite a gap now from the young gun from Team Stradale, Alex Morton, who's certainly come alive in race 3, running second now in the Pro 1500 class. So Steve Jenks, one of the older competitors, followed by one of the youngest, and a big dive 3 wide as they go into the center hairpin. That's Greg Gorski, who's just been run wide there. Jesse Mensah, not necessarily just using a lot of track really on the exit, but
I thought they needed to cut the grass.
Well, at the end of the day, you're there, and that's the problem. If you get hung out to dry on the outside of a lot of these corners at Barber, there's just nowhere to go. You're going to end up in the grass or end up in the wall, and really got to live to fight another day if you can.
Well, and these cars are very resilient and built in such a way that they don't seem to you have good control, obviously. And turn number 5, Charlotte's Web, does possess a certain mystique because it has more than 2 lines in it, depending on how you want to approach it.
Absolutely, and if you overcook that,
yes,
it's really tough on the exit. You run out of road because the track's still curving around. And look at this great shot on screen. The car's streaming through.
There it is.
So around turn 3 and 4 and up over the hill, the top cars in the Platinum Class Glow. We're waiting to pick up now a couple of the others. So already in the pit lane, we have Terry Olsen for Team Fury, car 16. He is the the Platinum Class champion, current Platinum Class champion from last year. And number 5 is also in. So immediately as the pit window opened, Max Fedler in for Group A racing as well. In fact, both Group A cars in, so they've decided the undercut's the best way to handle this. Ron Fletcher, who had that off, is also in pit lane. So now we've got to wait a little bit until the timing and scoring kind of settles out.
And everybody, now you explained to me that it's a 90-second window that you have to stay with.
90-second effectively stationary stop, although really the delta is between pit in and pit out. And so that's what they're really watching for. Now 2 members of the crew can work on the car, but really it is a competition stop, so you won't necessarily see any changes of tyres or anything like that unless someone's having a cut tyre.
Right.
And so another one dives in. You can see on screen someone just diving into pit lane whilst other cars tour around the final 2 corners here at Barber Motorsports Park. And that's going to happen a little bit. So we'll pick up who that was down the main straight. It's to 200 of Chris McMurray, still touring. And now some of these stops completing. So as Mike Anzaldi trundles down pit lane, and the 349 Wisco Racing, or 349, yes, David Albon. So back on track, they're immediately racing again, and there's a bit of a gaggle down here in the hairpin.
Yes.
Terry Olsen in front of that pack, and he's in one of the SR8, so that's why he's pulling away on the main straight. So what's going to happen here is they've all sort of spread out a little bit. Some guys have got lucky, they're back in clean air. Others are immediately back in the pack. And all of a sudden they're going to, oh, really close there. That was Smoke Buddy, I think. That was Greg Gorski, a bit of a hip and shoulder as they went into the high speed section just past the museum. And Gorski looking on the outside, which again, low percentage stuff, I think, always. But now it's the under and over, I think. And we'll see who he's passed. Perhaps Ron Fletcher, and if so, they're good buddies out at Spring Mountain.
Some more of the cars that have been on pit road heading back out.
Yeah, so Smoke Buddy, 24, passing, no, that was the 29 of 29. I think that's Richard DeRocha. It is indeed for Team Fury. And so Greg Gorski just wanting to get around, if you like, the out-of-class car and get on with his motor race, knowing that it's important. It's now or never. The pit stops are occurring. You've got to make things happen in these moments.
And we've just passed the halfway point, time-wise, for this race.
Another big dive down into the center hairpin. Great braking zone and a great opportunity. That was Ron Fletcher in the number 19 making a move there. So on the back straight, or that middle straight, shall we say, down into museum they go. Now the leaders are in pit lane. So there's a few guys and definitely some different speeds in pit lane. A few drivers being a little bit more conservative than others. 40 mile an hour is the limit.
Andy Miller and Mel Johnson in.
Gustavo Raffols streaming through turn 1 on screen. And it's amazing, this corner in a downforce car around turn 3 and up over the crest. It's really, really difficult. Got to grit your teeth and feet in the throttle, and the car doesn't feel that settled, but it will stick with all the downforce of the big front splitter, the big wings and the rear diffusers. So what's so good about these Radical racing cars, they're true downforce cars and can prepare you for open wheel classes like we see with the Road to Indy, or for that matter, top GT cars as well with big downforce. So it's a really, really good series for learning a craft. And we always like to say, these racing cars make racing drivers. So on screen, watch a few others come into pit lane. And that's Kit Leslie across the line to start another one in the older SR3, the blue RS for S's Racing out of Texas. And so many drivers from all around the country. It really is a true national championship. I can't think of a one that has that designation. It is so genuinely a championship where drivers from all across the nation are competing. And quite often, well, really with the exception of this year, the series is always going to the West Coast as well as to the center of the country in Texas, and then across the East Coast and the South. So it's strong competition with the top Radical drivers from across North America. We quite often get a few drivers from Europe, and as well as that, a few drivers from Canada as well.
And the 29 in the pits, that's Richard Dorcher.
Yeah, and just behind him, the 418
Yes.
of Nick Pearson. We haven't spoken much of him today, so 2 1500s on screen. A good little battle there. 3 cars. So just over 16 minutes remain, and obviously the pit window, I think, will be
John
coming
Field.
up on closing.
John Field heading back out in the red car.
Yep, Palmer Miller in pit lane as well. So all these guys now, they've been out on track. They've tried to their best to stay clear of everyone else and just put in the lap times. And you can just see the speed on screen there. Awesome shot, showing just how fast these Radicals are. About 10,000 RPM for the SR8 V8s, about 7,000 RPM for the 4-cylinder EcoBoost in the SR10s, and then about 10,000 RPM again for the 1500 and 1340 cars.
And some of these are very uniquely painted. I love the 37 car, the make sure I get that right, the 32 car, I'm sorry, of Palmer Miller, that flag of the state of Texas.
Absolutely, in pit lane at the moment.
Yes.
And a single star in the center of the cockpit there really looks fantastic. And true to form, Palmer representing his state well. He's a fantastic competitor. Nicest guy off the track. Oh, as his teammate in the closed cockpit car, we just saw that on screen. Conrad Park had a big moment there, sort of ran wide, but managed to keep it on the black stuff. So picking up some of these cars now. Just past the museum they go. The high-speed section on the back of the track. Just awesome to go through flat out in one of these machines, using all the downforce and all the power, pulling gears as you switch left, switch right, switch left again. So as for the order, we'll check in with that and see where people are at. India Miller, I believe, is still in P1. He's leading this motor race from Louis Schreiber. And John Field, third in class at the moment. Try and pick up where they are around the racetrack.
Well, and to kind of compare these cars, the Porsche series that was out early, their fastest times around here were the fastest time was posted as a 1:27, and if you look right now, the fastest time in this race posted is a 1:24.
That's right, and so, 1:23s in qualifying, so extremely quick motor cars.
Right, very quick, and there's a lot to be said because they are very light. But they do, and I've said this, and I hate to be repetitive, but they do seem to be very manageable. The lack of weight doesn't appear to be a flaw or anything like that. It seems to help make them better, and they do handle very well from what we see.
Absolutely. Well, I've just picked up where India Miller is, and he just came out of that center hairpin near the big spiders, and behind him, having a little bit of traffic to deal with is Louis Schreiber. So the top three, with John Field in that red car, right behind him. So the top three overall and in the platinum class, really, really on it, having a race. We move down to the 1500 class, and Palmer Miller is showing in the lead of that one at the moment from Gustavo Raffol. Steve Jenks appears to have lost out a little bit in the round of pit stops. We'll see how that plays out. Of course, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a penalty or two. Hopefully not, but we usually do see one. An eager driver, just a little bit too eager. It feels like eternity to wait for 90 whole seconds just sitting there while everyone else is zooming past you. You can hear the cars.
Well, if there's something race car drivers don't like to do, it's to sit.
That's right.
And wait.
I tell you the other big mover and shaker in this race, Jason Plotke, so one of the owners of Apex Motor Club in Arizona. Awesome job. This is his first Radical Cup race. He's only driven Radicals for around about a year now. And amazingly out there's already, I think, 35 or 40 cars, believe it or not. The club's only been in existence for about a year, and already about 35 Radicals out there. And Jason, at the moment, leading the Pro 1340 class from Vince Switzer and Chris McMurray. And you're talking about great paint jobs before. You should see Mr. McMurray's helmet. It's a mosaic.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's really neat. And not this event, but we've one of our competitors from Autobahn Country Club has got the Scream painted all over.
Oh, Lord.
The famous painting,
Yes,
the Scream.
right.
So, and it's quite apt, I think. It's in a car screaming to
Well, it would be for
10,000
me.
RPM.
I think I would be screaming. These are, this is not a sport for the timid.
Not at all.
You have to have confidence in yourself and in the car.
Speaking of Autobahn Country Club, Mike Anzaldi just went across the line, and Mike in a Cannon car, it's very reminiscent of an old Williams Formula One car, and Mike lucky to get that car repaired after a bit of impact. If you remember, he had some damage and sort of limped it to over near the super screens in the corporate facilities across the way. But he's back out on track, and a wave of the hand, a thank you, it looked like, from Louis Schreiber as he goes past some of the back markers. Really shouldn't say back markers because these guys are running their own race.
They are.
And
as you said, there's
the
three
Pro
different classes.
1340 cars, they might not be the fastest in terms of what you see out here, but these guys are the fastest in the country of that class.
Right.
So these cars are highly popular in Canada as well as in Chicago, also, as we mentioned, in Arizona. And so, yeah, we usually see a few Canadians down here. Of course, the COVID restrictions not allowing that this weekend. They're really bummed. I've been getting quite a few mentions or messages, rather, from our fellow racers north of the border.
Well, and as the racing season really gets underway in earnest, I mean, we've had a few NASCAR races, we've had a couple of sports car races, a few, and they're not to be dismissed as they're major races.
There's our leaders streaming through the field, and you can see Anzaldi as well, just coming through there. Conrad Park was also in shot in that closed cockpit car. And we just see them now as they stream along over the crest and down into the hairpin. The red car, John Field, running third at the moment. Car 500, Indy Miller still in the lead in the Platinum class and overall in the brand new SR10. That's certainly what the factory back in England wanted to see. And those cars, touch wood, have been really, really strong straight out of the box. In fact, Indy Miller only had a couple of laps in his brand new car at Atlanta Motorsport Park just last weekend. I think he did an hour in the car, then came to Barber and is immediately on the pace and now leading the race. He was joking with everyone last night during our Blue Marble party that he was going to be on the pole and he was going to run away with it. Now, he hasn't quite run away with it, but he's certainly the leader of the field at the moment. And whilst he hasn't done the fastest lap, he's certainly right there on pace and doing what he needs to do to stay in command of this motor race. Palmer Miller, still the leader in Pro 1500 from Gustavo Raffles, the young gun from Puerto Rico, driving for Wisco Racing. He's another one. He hasn't raced all of last year due to being stuck in Puerto Rico. He said he was driving an Ariel Atom occasionally, just trying to keep his eye in the game. Impressive to come out here instantly on the pace again and looking for a top step of the podium. Steve Jenks, as we mentioned in that round of pit stops, has come back to P3, so the 68 will try and pick up where he is. Gustavo Raffles going to that centre hairpin, chasing down Palmer Miller, and Jenks is not far behind. Now, we don't have a lot of time left, only about 7 minutes, but Jenks has been absolutely the fastest guy out there this weekend. Noah Ping has been quick, but Jenks really has had the pace. And I know Jonathan Scarillo from Group A up in New York and Radical New York, they worked really hard in the off-season, did a lot of thinking about how to set up these cars. They're spec racing cars, meaning there's only so much you can change, but ride height is one, spring rates is another. Of course, in the SR3s, you can change the final drive ratio as well, even though it's a gearbox engine. there is what we call a gear drive unit just sitting behind the engine, and that takes the power out of the motorcycle engine and runs it through, if you like, a set of gears.
Yep.
And into the differential. And that battle on track at the moment we saw on screen just then, that was Jenks and with Noah Ping behind. And Noah's going to have to be careful. We had a look at Jenks there in through turn one. Jenks will be watching his mirrors thinking, my God, I don't want this young competent driver behind me again. He's the one that caused me trouble yesterday. And now I've got my mirrors full again. And if there is something, that 55 machine is awesome on the brakes. I don't think there's anything like, what do they say, being young and dumb.
Hey.
Because this kid, he doesn't know the ramifications really yet. He is just fearless in these machines. And and he's speaking of which, I think he's just had a moment. So talking him up with all his absolute aggression, and I think he's just pushed a little bit too hard there through the chicane down the hill into Museum. Hopefully we'll get a replay of that. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that wasn't Steve Jenks.
Yeah.
Because those guys were having a good battle, and there's one thing Noah didn't want to do, and that's cause a commotion in this race. He just needs to keep his nose clean. Now, yeah, so Noah coming around into turn one there. So he has fallen back from Jenks. So he had that big slide through the chicane down into Museum. Oh, and it's close around turn two again. That was Distech, that colourful car of Jesse Mensah. He put it on the pole last year here. And now they're going three wide.
Oh, look at this. Here we go into turn
five.
and
Greg Gorski says, thank you very much. I'll go up the middle and around the outside, and I'll take all of you. Well, except for Jesse Mensah, that is.
Yes.
So the number 11 leading that pack now. That was awesome stuff. The drivers, and Greg Gorski's got a run on Jesse. Oh, this could be all right. And Jesse's going to have to be careful because he's gone from P1 in that pack down to P3.
That was impressive.
That's the kind of racing we like to see here. It's clean, it's fast and furious, but it's clean. And every driver giving just enough, just an inch beyond the width of their car to make that work and get on with it. These guys are going to be grinning from ear to ear when they get out of these cars. So that's for a podium spot, I think. Or just the next, I think it might be fourth in class, actually. So as they come three wide again, as they're duking it out into turn one.
And we are coming up on the 3-minute mark remaining.
So this is the battle for fourth in class, not even for a podium finish. And these guys are absolutely flat out. It's the good thing about the series. It doesn't seem to matter where you're running. There's always a battle to be had. And of course, with multi-class racing, there's always something to be doing, whether that's checking your mirrors or doing the overtaking yourself. So it really prepares drivers for the higher steps in the ladder. And as we mentioned, some of these drivers are really proving the might of this series. So Palmer Miller leading the 1500 class from Gustavo Raffles, Steve Jenks, Noah Ping, Alex Morton, Greg Gorski, Jesse Mensah, and then it's back to Nate Smith. In the 1340 class, it's Jason Plotke from Vince Switzer, Chris McMurray, Mike Anzaldi, Jeff Ping, and Jason Greenwood. And in the platinum class, it's Indy Al Miller from Louis Schreiber, John Field, Mel Johnson, Terry Olsen.
And the clock continues to run, ladies and gentlemen. We are down to just under a minute and a half.
So just under a minute and a half to go here for the Blue Marble Radical Cup Series at Barber Motorsports Park. This has been round 1 of 6. And the drivers have a lot more racing to do in this year. But for the moment, we're looking for the white flag to come out. And the leaders have just gone by. So the white flag won't be this lap.
Right.
So the
there
white flag
it is. The white flag is out.
Is now out. Although, oh, and Palmer Miller. We just didn't see it out of shot. You can just see the smoke in the background. He just had a massive moment at the exit of the final corner. And it was doing some dirt tracking out there. Managed to gather it up and back on the straightaway. I don't think he lifted for that. So the white flag is out. I just wonder whether or not the starter didn't quite get. She is preparing the checker flag. So I think we're on the final lap here.
Yes.
Even though the leaders didn't get that white flag. So hopefully they're aware. And they're heading around the top part of the section, the circuit at the moment. So we're only a couple of corners to go for the leaders of this one. And it should be Indy Al Miller, who's going to come down the straightaway in a minute and take a win. The second for the brand new SR10. And he does. He pumps his fist in the air. The 500 machine for Blue Marble Cocktails, Indy Al Miller. And behind him, Louis Schreiber. Fantastic result for him and Team Stradale. John Field, third in class. Melsom in fourth. Mel Johnson, rather. And then Terry Olsen rounding out the top 5 in platinum. Now, I might just pop my head next door and find out whether these results are official or whether they are still under question because of the round of pit stops. Home first across the line. In the meantime, congratulations to Palmer Miller taking another race win here at Barber Motorsports Park in the Pro 1500 class from Gustavo Raffles and Steve Jenks. Top 3 in 1500. Now that's provisional, as I say. Noah Ping, 4th. Alex Morton in 5th. Jesse Mensa in 6th. And in the 1340s, it's Jason Plotke over Vince Switzer, Chris McMurray, Mike Anzaldi, Jeff Ping, and Jason Greenwood. Well, I'll be back in a minute. We'll just see if we've got any dramas. We can report back.
Very good. What an exciting race. The Radical North America, the Blue Marble Radical Cup. That's round 3, concluding Indy Al Miller. Your provisional winner, who had a best time of 24.915, but he wasn't the quickest overall, which is something that we see normally. You do see other cars that perform better. But we are going to be getting ready here now for our next race momentarily. We're waiting for Tom to come back with the results and see what we can take out of. Did everybody complete their pit stops and those type of things? But coming up next is the USF 2000 race number 2, and that's about 20 minutes from now. They're set to go, but we're looking forward to Rob Houghton coming back up and filling us in and keeping us going with that Road to Indy race. And that was a good race, though. A lot of fun, and you see the drivers going by, and they're very they're gentlemanly. I don't know how else to put that. Sometimes in sports.